evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Mark Caraway. I am the director for the Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School, and I'll be introducing everybody else that's associated with the Governor School central staff here in a sec. But a couple of things. We just had some requests for paper for notes, things like that. I just want to let you know, one thing is that we will be recording this session, so if there's something you missed, you can go back and look up. Also, I'll be posting a link to the slideshow that I have up here that has a lot of the information. So no need to take notes. It's mostly, the idea behind tonight is, first of all, to have a chance to talk with parents directly and students as well about the overall what's going to be happening with the program this year, what the program goals are, things like that, and also to to have a chance to share with you some of the very specific activities and specific things that we'll be doing. And you had a chance to catch into the slideshow there. That was a lot of the activities from last year. We always put an end of the year slideshow together for our board and for our students at the for end of the year activities. So a little bit about what tonight is going to be as far as the different things we're going to cover. As I mentioned, we'll get into some introductions, kind of the who's who in terms of Central Blue Ridge staff. We're in the process of doing some strategic planning for our program. So we've been looking a lot at the overall mission and structure of the program. So I'll provide you with a little bit of information on that. Talk a little bit about our skills curriculum, which is really kind of the main thing that we do. We really concentrate on developing a certain set of skills with our students throughout the curriculum. We'll talk a little bit about how we actually do it, and you saw a lot of that in some of these slides here, how our project-based learning works, where you can find information as a parent about what those things are what is happening with those kinds of activities. Ms. Alton, who's our technology person, is going to talk a little bit about technology, things that parents can use in terms of information. We'll give you a little bit of information on policies. Most of that will be coming home in our student handbook for you in the next couple of weeks if you haven't already seen that. And talk about some of the major things that are going to be taking place over the course of the year. One of the things that Mr. Reynolds is going to get into works with our online courses. Talk a little bit about our online course offerings and tips for parents in that when students are working in the online classes. And then we're going to have an opportunity for you to ask questions, also for you to provide some input for future planning if you can do that here or after the meeting from the comfort of your home if you'd like to do that. So before I start introducing our folks, just out of curiosity, I want to, for a show of hands, how many of you are ninth grade students or parents of a ninth grader? Okay. How many are 10th graders, parents and students? 11th? And senior. Okay. That's kind of how it breaks out. Usually it looks like a pyramid in terms of attendance, and usually we see a lot more ninth grader parents of ninth grades at these meetings. So we are going to kind of cover the entire Blue Ridge, kind of the gamut of different things that we're going to be doing, because I think as parents, even if you're here as a parent of a ninth grader, it's going to be good for you to have a sense of some of the things that your students will be getting into from here on out. So I mentioned introductions. Myself, I'm the director, so essentially the principal curriculum director for the program. And so you are always welcome to contact me either by email or cell phone, which is all over our website and all over a lot of the materials that we will be sending home. We have Mrs. Alton. Sally Alton is our technology specialist, which means we, as a virtual school and a school that does a lot of work through computers and technology, she is a very, very busy person. And doing not only the work with getting computers out there in the schools for our students to use, but also supporting the learning that takes place through all of our technological resources. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Terry Reynolds back here, has been teaching computer science for Blue Ridge for many, many years. Came on board last year as our full-time computer science teacher and online learning coordinator, or whatever I just chose your job title to be today. Yeah, I keep changing his job title. He's on the online instructional coordinator, the online learning coordinator, he's just the online guy. So he'll be talking to you about online courses, of which we have a lot to offer, actually, more than we've had in the past. And then Christy Bunovich has just come on board this year as our administrative specialist. She does a lot of the important stuff, which includes feeding the kids. It's a big deal for us because we often, and we'll be doing this tomorrow, we'll be getting a number of kids from different schools and different grade or from different schools together for a particular project. And one of the things we've got to do is make sure they're not hungry, because they can't work when they're hungry. So she's got a very important job, and she's probably the most popular of us with students. So a couple of things about the program, and I think some of this is information you might know, but just to make you aware, this year we have well over 500 students from our 7 counties. When I started the program, this is my 11th year in the program. When I started, we had 290. So we've almost doubled in size in that time. We have 7 counties. We got Fluvanna, Goochland, Louisa, Nelson, Madison, Greene, and Orange. So kind of that central 64 corridor. And I'll talk a little bit in a minute about our program mission, but a lot of that is established by the mission of these 7 counties in establishing the governor's school. So one of the big missions is to make sure that our students interact and collaborate across county lines, and we do a lot of that. So we'll talk a little bit about how that works. One thing that I think not everybody that comes into the program is aware that we are primarily state funded. The localities provide the teachers for the program, and of course the classrooms and some of the support and transportation from the localities. But the bulk of what takes place in the program is funded through direct funding through for the students. The state funds 18 slots per school per year. Some of our counties in the last few years have taken on additional classes at local expense, which means they pay essentially what we would be paid by the state. So they're over and above. So Orange, Goochland, and Fluvanna have done that. And that's been because they've had very, very high application for the program. So ultimately, this is something that we've updated recently, and that is our mission statement. When we were originally formulated, we were highly concentrated, particularly just on STEM, on science, technology, engineering, math type topics. We are still a STEM-centered school, but with almost 600 students, we have a lot of variety of interests and abilities and things. So one of the things we've looked at is saying, how can we reformulate our purpose to meet the needs of all of these students? So we're looking at, the purpose here is to challenge any motivated, high-ability student that comes to us. We want to look for ways to challenge those students. And so that opens up a little bit. And we want to use a variety of different ways to do that. We want to make it sure that it's also beyond their traditional high school experience. Our schools have great programs. All of our member schools have incredibly challenging classes. They've got advanced placement and dual enrollment, and there are lots of opportunities. So one of the questions for us as a program becomes, what do we do that offers some value added beyond that? Because that's really our function. For students who have a lot of academic interest, students who are highly motivated, what can we do? So we do that. We want to inspire our students. We want to challenge them. And we're going to use our platform, in which we've got a lot of technology-centered learning. When I say technology-centered, it may be in the process of learning. It may be using technology to learn, or it may be learning about technology. We've got a little bit of both. And we want to really focus on the skills to help our students be as successful as possible when they leave high school. That's something, and having worked as a high school principal, as a high school teacher, it's very difficult to get a connected experience for high school students throughout. Most students come into a high school, and every one of them takes a unique combination of courses. The one thing that we have here in this program, and we actually had a big curriculum meeting today to talk about kind of the future of our curriculum. One of the things we want to do is to make sure the students have a connected experience where they're particularly working on those kind of skills that are going to help them be successful. We were over at UVA yesterday. I had a group of students doing some research for their senior project. We bumped into a couple of our graduates there. One of the things that we always do is ask, what did you learn in this program that really helps you here in this setting? And we get really consistent answers about the kinds of skills. I'll talk about some of them, but things like collaboration and about public presentation and about the ability to manage their time and the ability to read and understand challenging and rigorous material. So those are the things that we consistently hear from our graduates that help them in that respect. So the skills curriculum, I'm going to just kind of throw this for a second. I just gave away a few, but what are some of the skills that you think, if you go out and ask people, say in the college environment, college professors and people who are working with students in, say, highly technical industries, what are some of the skills that you think that they identify as the most critical skills for success? Working together as a team, that's huge. You walk into a college environment now, you see tons of, they're set up really established for students to collaborate. And many of the kinds of things that they're doing, we saw one of our students yesterday, 3 weeks. She's been 3 weeks at UVA. She said, I I've already used the skills that I learned about collaboration, because most of my classmates haven't ever worked in a team setting. And, this is at UVA. Most of her UVA classmates in the classes she's taken only in the first 3 weeks, she's found that to be a helpful skill. What else would be something that you think? Yes. Presentation, absolutely. The ability to publicly present in a variety of different contexts. And by that, I mean, we have students doing scientific presentations with scientists, doing evaluations. Those are critical skills. What else do you think? Absolutely. One of the things in a high school environment you're going to see is that students are given every day, they're given the information about this is due tomorrow, this is due next week. It does not happen in the college environment. The other piece of that is, I just started working with a college course over at University of Mary Washington, and I was talking with one of the professors about late policy. She said, my late policy is simple. I do not accept late work. That's a policy. Wow. That's something that students need to know, and that's something we hear from our graduates. Make sure they understand deadlines by the time they hit them. So you've hit some good ones. These are the things that we really focus on, and we've got strands of these throughout our entire curriculum. One is the ethics and community responsibility piece, and that's everything from what are the ethics of technology, how do you operate ethically in that space, and community responsibility, how do you serve and work with community. I'll feel free to come on, and we've got seats up over here, and I don't bite recently. We did mention public presentation. Again, we do this in a lot of different contexts. But one of the things we expect of our grads, and that they do very well, so we expect them essentially to give a TED-style talk. A talk without text on slides, where they're speaking like I'm speaking now, without having to refer to something or read it, and talk about a topic that they're very familiar with, and they do very well with that by the time they graduate. This is another piece, research and analysis. We have a lot of different kinds of research at each of our different levels. Each of our different courses, but the ability to go in, synthesize, find information. I mentioned we had students over today or yesterday using the databases at UVA to research, learning how to read scholarly journal abstracts and be able to decide whether those are going to be good sources for the projects that they're working on. The time and information management, it's a little bit of both. Time management, one of the things that we encourage is the use of our tools, our Google tools like Google Calendar, which can be done on a phone, it can be done on a computer, so it's always there with you. But also information management. There's so much information out there when you're looking at a particular topic. How do you organize yourself to be able to use that? Technology, of course, that's a huge piece for us. And when we talk about use of technology, we talk about using it in a way that's academic and professional, so that students know how to email. And I say this all the time, and it's absolutely true, and this happened to me today. I get better emails from our students. I had a student that asked me email to ask me a question about a field trip tomorrow, and at the same time I got one from somebody who is a professional educator at the Department of Education in Virginia. The student email was way better in terms of professionality. Absolutely. Dear Mr. Caraway, I have a question about the field trip. Sincerely, and whereas the other one kind of came at me with no salutation and everything. What is this about? So that's something, and I've heard from both people at the college level and employers that this is something, and the mentors for our students in their senior year, that this is something that they really feel has given our students a leg up. We mentioned the team piece, collaboration. We have lots and lots of team projects that can be frustrating at times, particularly for students who are used to being successful on their own. But one of the things we want to do is build in, how do you deal with that environment? Because collaboration is a critical piece in college and the workplace. Problem solving, this is another one. We're living in an SOL world, and I'm not going to go too far down that road, but other than say, we've kind of gone to a very specific kind of, you need to know this information, you need to be able to give this information back. But when you look at what's going on in terms of demands of college and beyond, the ability to problem solve complex problems, to take those pieces without having four choices to answer from, is a critical skill. So that's something we really focus on. And communication, particularly for self-advocacy. I mentioned a student emailing me today. We get a lot of that. We encourage our students to communicate with us. If you got a question about technology, Miss Alton answers hundreds, particularly near the end of project time. She's answering hundreds of emails, about how to embed a video into their website, about how to do this, or my computer died, what do I do? It's the last minute. We encourage that kind of communication. So as parents, if your child comes to you and says, well, I'm trying to do such and such, it's not working, have you contacted Ms. Alton, or have you contacted Mr. Caraway, or have you contacted Mr. Reynolds, or all of us? Throw up a flare to all of us. One of us that's a big piece. So one of the things that I wanted to refer you to, particularly as parents, our students see a lot of this, but I mentioned we do a lot of this through project-based learning, and our projects generally are large. And when I say large, I'm talking about more time frame. So right now we're in the process of kicking off our projects for the fall semester. So, for example, the next couple of weeks we're going to have ninth graders coming in. We've got two different meetings, two different sets of schools coming in to start off on their fall ninth grade project. It will start now and is due in the final product for that project is due in December. There's lots of pieces to go along the way, including a major paper. So for parents, one of the things that I think is a helpful piece is to know where to find information about this stuff. So for us, if you come into our website and you go to the academics and you click on the current projects tab here, you'll get links to our major projects and the things that are ongoing. So for example, we've got our semester 1 project. It's called Technology Through the Ages, a Virtual Museum. And this has all of the information that the students are going to refer to, that the teachers are going to refer to, and that you as parents can refer to. One of the things that helps most with that, where's my navigation page? There we go. Is it has a project dates section, so you can see all of the major dates that are on this project. So I mentioned we'll have our kickoff here, and this is small to see, but if you go to the website, you'll be able to read this. September 12th and 19th are our kickoffs. It'll talk about different pieces that are due. One of the things, this is part of what we do to help students with time management, is we chunk projects out rather than saying, here's a big project, it's due in December, good luck. You know, we give lots of different pieces because this is how really this should be managed at the college level or in upper level classes particularly. So it's got kind of all of the different dates until we get down to the final research paper. Then we'll have a group, then we'll start on the group part of the project, which is where students are going to come together and build a virtual museum, which will be a website that will be set up as a museum to feature different technologies from a civilization to which they've been assigned. So as a parent, you can go in and say, you know, we got this big paper due on November 2nd, and that you can put that kind of on your radar and go, okay, we know that that's going to be coming up. Let's check on the progress, say about a week before that, and see where things stand on that. So that's as I mentioned, all of our big projects are on that section of our website under the academics. You can also use that section to see student work. If you want to look at what students have produced in the past, you can see some of the previous projects. This is a 10th grade project that we had where students have to write grants in their science class, and there we go. And so it has links to all of the different group projects, so you can go in and actually see what the products look like. You know, if you're thinking about, okay, what should this look like as a final project or a product, you can go in and check that out as well. So I would encourage you to take a look around our website. There's a lot of other information here that can help out. We've got our handbook posted here. We've got, again, our academics. We've got admissions information. This is a direct contact to all of us on the administration team here. We've got laptop loaners on here. So lots of different things. So I would encourage parents and students to get to know the website. We've not been real good with the opening of school putting news items. We try to update about once a week with news items about different events and things that are happening with Blue Ridge. And often we'll put that information up here as well. So that's kind of the project piece. I mean, that's a huge piece for us because a lot of the rest of our curriculum feeds into those projects. So we've got some seats up here, Chris. So, and anybody in the back, we can take a sec here and
full empty row up here.
That'd be great. Thanks. So I mentioned you should be seeing, or if you haven't already seen it, should be seeing Blue Ridge handbooks coming home that have policies for you to review as a parent. Parents and students both sign off that, and that comes back to school. Things just to emphasize, we really emphasize with our students our honor code, particularly working in a virtual world. How do you prevent plagiarism? How do you prevent that very tempting copy and paste kind of thing? One of the ways that we do that is we work with a program called turnitin.com, which is a program that helps students to identify how much of their paper is original. So So if you submit an assignment, it tells you if something has been copied. It tells you how much, essentially how much of it is original. We don't use it as a gotcha. We don't say submit that. Oh no, not good. We're gonna downgrade you. What we do is we make it available to the students, and we say prior to the due date, so they can submit to turn it in, and they can make adjustments. And then we only accept it when it's at a certain level of originality. So we're trying to help really provide some training with our students for our students on the honor code stuff. Academic standing, this is good for parents to be aware of and for students. There is a certain level of academic grade point average that students need to maintain. It's a 3.0 overall grade point average in any given marking period, and it's a C- or above in their Blue Ridge course. Student falls below that. There's a process that's outlined in the handbook that we go through, and it's primarily a process of how do we support the student to get to a better place. And it's a several step process. We come back and look at it again, come back and look at it again, and only if a student has definitively not shown improvement over time that we have to start looking at whether or not they're correctly placed in the program. So also for parents to be aware of, there is a code of conduct provision, and the code of conduct piece is that students are expected to be in good standing at their local schools. They get into a problem where they're in ISS or OSS, in school or out of school suspension. That's going to be brought to our attention. It's going to institute a process of review as far as that student's standing. We're not looking to send anybody out of the program, but we do expect our students to represent themselves and their local school and our school well. So that's a part of what this is about. So it's good. That's a good one for parents to be aware of. Field trips, we do a lot of field trips because, again, part of our mission is to bring students together. So we'll probably do, in particularly 9th and 10th grade, it runs about 2 or 3 field trips a semester. Most of those take place during the school day, so kids are back before the end of the school day. They've got band or they've got sports. They're there for that, no problem. We do have some trips that are longer, particularly in 9th grade. We go to Washington, D.C. a couple of times. If there's an issue, a conflict, parent and student needs to contact the local teacher, and if it's not something that's easily resolved there, I'm happy to be involved as well and figure out how to work that out. We understand that our students are involved in lots of things. But in short of a conflict, we do expect our students to be on the field trips. Also for parents to be aware of, I'll probably get this year, I will bet, I'll probably get 6 to 10 emails or calls from parents who will be calling me to question a grade in their child's class. And probably what the best thing for parents to know is that I don't actually grade the papers in the class. So that's the teachers. So the starting point, the grade appeal process, one of the things we're trying to teach our students is self-advocacy. And I'll tell you how this plays out sometimes at the college level. It's, I think, a story that illustrates this really greatly. I heard this several years ago, where a student was in a class, first year of college, and went to the first exam and had done everything right, had studied what she was supposed to study, everything right. She got there and bombed it. And so she went to the professor, went and used the professor's office hours, which a lot of students in college do not do. And she said, I need to know why I failed this because I studied this. Everything you told me to study, I studied. Turned out she had the wrong textbook. She had a textbook of the same title for the course, but she had ordered it like on Amazon or something. She ended up with, it wasn't the correct textbook. And the professor said, oh, well, let's do this. We'll get you the right textbook. We'll give you a couple of weeks to come back and take the test. Passed it, no problem. But that's the point at which an event like that is often the point at which college students will make a decision about, am I going to stay here or am I not going to stay here in a college environment? So for us, we want students to have a voice in their own advocacy. So if there's a question about grades, that's the best place to start. Parent or a student to teacher, and then parent to teacher. And then if there's an issue that needs to be resolved in a bigger picture, I am happy to get involved. But that process is outlined as well. Ms. Alton's going to talk to you a little bit about the technology we use and show you a couple of things that parents need to know about that as well.
So I'm Sally Alton. I'm the Instructional Technology Resource Specialist for the Governor's School. We obviously, since we're partially online, mostly hybrid environment, there's a lot of technology use. I'm a resource for the students and the staff. I help the teachers with ideas for instruction and using technology in the classroom, but I'm also someone for the students in terms of they're having trouble with a piece of technology or they're trying to do something with a project and they can't quite get it right. They are encouraged to email me and ask those questions. I'd rather get 5 emails in 5 minutes from them and then get a 6th email as I'm writing my response saying, it's okay, I figured it out. I love that. But I always try to encourage people, contact me early and often. All of our students do have a Google Apps account specific to Blue Ridge. I think all of the schools now have Google Apps within the school system as well. So your child does have a specific Blue Ridge email address, Google Drive, all of that kind of stuff. It is monitored. It is both filtered electronically, and I also do random audits of the students' accounts. I read their email, I read their chats, I look through their documents and make sure everything is on the up and up. If you would like to look through their accounts, you can contact me and I will give you their password. They're not allowed to change it. So if you would like to look through their account, you are welcome to as well. If they tell you they have been emailing someone and no one is getting back to them, you can hop in their account with them and make sure, okay, well, they emailed you back, but they asked you a question and you didn't respond to it, or, help figure out where the miscommunication is. But you are more than welcome to hop into their account regardless of what they say. We do have an acceptable use policy, and we really stress academic and professional manners in all technology. This will be in the handbook that has already come home or will be coming home with your student in the next week that you do have to sign off on. For our acceptable use policy is that students will always be using technology, either accounts that they have been given by Blue Ridge or hardware, laptops or something like that, in a professional and academic manner. It is not for planning social activities or gossiping or chatting with their friends in another class. We really try to stress that your Blue Ridge account is like your work email. If you're in a job and you use it incorrectly, you get fired. With Blue Ridge, this is where you learn those hard lessons. We're not going to fire you, but you probably will get in trouble, and we'll have to have an uncomfortable conversation. Also on our website, Mr. Caraway talked about some of the things. In all of the Blue Ridge classrooms, our teachers have a laptop cart that is specifically for the Blue Ridge students' uses. Blue Ridge provides that. So when they're in a Blue Ridge classroom, it's a one-to-one for the technology equipment. If you only have like one computer at home, or your computer at home is dead, or you don't have a computer, or you don't have internet, we do have a laptop loan program where students can check out a laptop either for a short term, they're going out of town, for longer. Our main thing is we want students to have the resources that they need. So on our website under resources, the first link is laptop loans. There's a request form that's just an electronic form that the students need to fill out. And then there's also a link to an agreement that both the students and the parents have to sign off on, just so that I can't send a computer home unless the parents know it's coming home. So just signing off that your student's bringing home a laptop to do work on. These are set up with their Google account, but even if you don't have internet where you're going to be, it will still work. Their docs can all be there. They can still get their work done, even if they don't have internet. Or I know we all live in rural areas, so if you have dial-up or satellite, you don't want them downloading a whole bunch of stuff, or you're doing it through your cell phone hotspot and racking up massive charges. But that's always something where they can come to me and ask questions about, and we can find a solution for them. Also on our website, if you forget our contact information, the contact BRVGS, that form automatically emails everyone on the leadership team here. So if you have a question, you can put it in there and we'll make sure you get a response from the correct person. Also on the resources tab, there's a help desk link. This is a link where students can submit any problem they're having with technology, whether it's with their classroom Chromebook, their account, another account we've given them, something they're trying to do. And I also, in a lot of cases, will help with home computer issues. I will do my best to help you solve them. I can't guarantee that I can fix them, and I probably can't come to your house. But a lot of times I'll have students bring laptops in. If it's a virus that I can hope to remove or something like that, I'll take my best shot at it. The one piece of advice I will give you in terms of Blue Ridge and computer use, if your student tells you they need a really super expensive Apple computer, 95% of what we do in class can be done on a Chromebook, which you can get a really decent Chromebook for $200 at Best Buy. So I always tell people, save your money for their college computer when they probably will need a bigger, badder machine. But right now, a Chromebook easily suffices for most of their work. And if it's if there's one class that they're taking that a Chromebook won't work for, I'll give them a loaner for that class, so you don't have to spend the money on it. Let me make sure, is there anything else? I think we've covered anything. If you have questions about, if you're planning to make a purchase of a computer and you'd like my feedback on if a certain model or something is appropriate, I'm more than happy to help you with that. Or if you have any questions about the technology, hardware, software, accounts, or anything for Blue Ridge, please don't hesitate to contact me.
So I want to spend just a couple of minutes going over what some of the specific things that are going to be happening this year are at each grade level. So I mentioned we've got our kickoff field trips. These are trips where often they're to here or to the Giuseppe Center over at Standardsville. We're bringing together a group of schools to start off our projects. So we've got the ones coming up for the 9th grade world history. So the ones on next Monday and then one the following Monday. So FGLN is Fluvanna, Goochland, Louisa, Nelson. We kind of have lots of little acronyms for our groups of schools. And OGM is Orange, Green, and Madison. And, you know what? You're absolutely right. It should be. I'm glad you caught that. Actually, it's the other way around. It is OGM on the 12th and FGLN. Sorry about that. Thanks for catching that. That's what happens when we're managing too much information. So again, so it will be Orange, Green, and Madison on the 12th, going to Giuseppe, and the 19th will be FGLN. So we'll be here, and that's a good reminder, just because they're Mondays and students don't always remember it's supposed to be on a Monday. We don't always remember. So hopefully we'll be here. I mentioned the fall research project. You can go take a look at that. It's the first project that, for the 9th graders. For those of you who are parents of 9th graders, you can look at that on the website under the current projects. It's the first one that pops up, the virtual museum project. We'll go to National Cathedral and National Gallery. I believe these are correct. On October 13th and 26th, you'll get notices home for those as well. These are ones where we will probably be leaving, depending on which school you're leaving from. We have to kind of coordinate buses among several schools. Some of the schools leave pretty early. If you're from Nelson, if you're from Goochland, Fluvanna, particularly farther away from DC, you'll definitely be leaving before regular school hours. So if there's any issues with that, please talk with the teacher there. Mentioned the research due date. We will also do a working field trip. We haven't actually set these dates yet because we're still working on sites and locations, but this is for the project. Our students will be coming together in that time frame. And the websites will be due in December. In January, we're going to do a college lecture and our semester 2 project kickoff. So we're not sure that kind of have various locations. We've done that in the past, and we're still working on locations and dates for that. The semester 2 project, by the way, is a debate project over ethics and history. And we'll do a spring trip, usually around March, for Washington, D.C., where we'll go to the War Memorials, National Holocaust Museum, and some other sites in D.C. One of the things that I want to mention is, anytime we have a presentation event, our first semester project for World History does not have a presentation event, but anytime we have a presentation event, we love to see parents here. So we'll let you know. We'll have an ethics debate. That'll be a public kind of forum project, and we will let parents will be informed about those dates, hopefully with enough time to make arrangements to be there. So for the 10th grade, it's an AP biology. For most of our students, that's a first-time advanced placement course, and it is not an easy course, I should tell you. But we just got an email from one of our students who graduated, not this past year, but the year before last, and said she was emailing her teacher to say this was the best preparation. This particular course was the best preparation for college she could have had. It is something where it's demanding content. It's preparing for that national AP biology test, but our students really dig into this. There's some great topics that go along with this in terms of labs. They're working with DNA. They're working with genetically modified plants. They're doing all kinds of stuff. We've got partnerships with Virginia Tech. So lots of neat things going on. So I mentioned the partnership with Virginia Tech. This is something called Arabidopsis. And if you have a 10th grader in this program, you will hear that name, Arabidopsis. It comes up a lot. It's a plant that they work with us. This is an ongoing real experiment that Tech does, where they give us genetically modified plants and the wild type plants, and we experiment and provide the data back to Virginia Tech. And that's been a very successful project. Our students share the data among schools. They draw conclusions, and then they come and present their results to the scientists from Tech. So it's a very real world project. it is part of a real project, and our students have actually, some of our students have landed as have been credited in the Journal of Plant Biology for some of their findings. So it's a great project. We usually have environmental field trips. They might be Chesapeake Bay Foundation. They may be different kinds of environmental experiences. It's kind of up to the individual school. This is done on an individual school basis. So we're working with teachers to schedule those right now. So some of those will be in fall and some of them will be in spring. Kind of depends on the individual class. Working field trips. Those are yet to be set too. We're set kind of scheduled into the early part of November right now, but we're working with all of our school schedules to get the next trip set up. This is one that we do have, and that's the presentations for the Arabidopsis experiment. So again, parents, if you've got a 10th grader or other parents that want to see what this looks like, you're welcome to come here on November 16th. Our project second semester is a grant writing project where students are actually they're studying current trends in biotechnology, and they write a grant to support a position in their particular area. And then the big kahuna for the 10th graders is they have an AP test on May 8th. And you'll hear a lot about that in the weeks prior. And one of the things we're going to try to set up this year is some possible weekend or after school study sessions. A lot of our teachers have done that individually. We're looking to try and do that and support that on a broader basis for the entire school. So Mr. Reynolds is our longtime 11th grade computer science teacher and our online learning coordinator. A little bit about the always got a joke, Mr. Reynolds.
I use that joke because online courses can be fairly stressful. They're great. I love teaching them, but students can get stressed and they can spread that stress to their parents and things like that. So you guys might hear about that sometimes. But I try to take it as, hey, I love a challenge. We're going to try to make this happen. One of the mottos I always use is don't freak out. We'll figure it all out. Don't worry. Because it is tough when the teacher's not there with you and you want to try to get through the process and things. And it's all right. We'll figure all those things out. We'll be okay. So I do like to use a lot of humor and things. I wasn't really playing. Kids just telling you. But anyway. So we do have a required online course when they get to 11th grade. 9th and 10th grade, nice and simple to look at. You know, you got world history and you got biology. But then when you get to the 11th grade, students are starting to think for themselves. And they're starting to decide what they want to do for life and things. And so we want to fit right in with that and give them some opportunities to look at the different things that they have. So they can take a course from me called just Governor's School of Computer Science. I teach that completely, directly. They can take AP Computer Science A. That's also kind of through me, but we do use a company called Adhesive that works with us. Learning that sticks. Do you get it? Adhesive. Okay. So, but I'm kind of the coach for that course. So all the course material comes from that company and all the grading and everything, but I jump in and kind of help with the kids. I go out and meet the kids. I went out to Fluvanna today to meet some of the students to just make sure they realize that I am a real human being and not just a robot somewhere, so that they know that, hey, they do have somebody at Governor's School that can help with that, whatever they need. We also have a brand new AP course, brand new across the nation, AP Computer Science Principles, also through Adhesive. So I coach that as well. So the students are taking that brand new AP exam and everything. So they also will be taking AP exams at the end of the year. The first course that's listed up there fits your school schedule. So if you're in a year-long school, then it fits there. But if you're in semester-long, we fit that to your schedule. So that's pretty flexible for that. The other two courses, since they're AP, those are year-long courses. If they decide they don't want to take computer science, I don't know why, but if they decide not to, they can take a dual enrollment course through UVA. Engineering. So we have a bunch of kids taking that, and that's always in the fall semester. And we have a dual enrollment statistics through German. So these are all online courses, and that's in the spring semester. So we're trying to give them as much flexibility as possible to fit their interests and their needs. Also in the 11th and 12th grades, they could take any of these courses. They could take any of these courses as electives. These are the same ones that were listed on the last slide. So they could take my course because it was so exciting. They could take the next level of computer science, or or if they couldn't fit engineering in their junior year, they can fit it in their senior year as an elective, something like that. And also we offer for the first time this year cybersecurity through Radford, so they can take that as well. That's a huge field these days. I'm sure you see it almost every day in the news. And digital technology. Cybersecurity is in the fall, and digital technology through UVA is in the spring. So wide variety of online classes for them to take, and I'm the kind of go-to guy to help them through all of that, encourage them to be successful in online learning. Sometimes you're just thrown into online class and you have nobody to go to. And so at Governor's School, we wanted to make sure we had somebody that the kids can go to and be able to talk to as far as helping them out with whatever is needed, registration or having trouble with some technology or something like that. So that's what I do.
A couple of things about this. We were one of the first programs in the state to really offer and require online courses across the board. That's been, and we started with that about 12, 13 years ago. And one of the things that we've seen at the college level is even if you're enrolled as a full-time college student, a lot of your work now is done through the same kind of platforms that we use for online learning. So even if you're not, we have, and I had a conversation with a parent recently, we just don't do online learning. If you're heading into most college environments or even work environments, you're not going to be able to avoid that. So what we're trying to do is prepare students with the skills. So Mr. Reynolds' curriculum has always not only been the actual content, but also how to teach students how to learn in that environment. And that's a huge skill, how to work in there. And so that's a big piece that our 11th graders and our 12th graders do when they have the online courses. This is a big expansion. If you have older students that have gone through the program a couple of years ago, they only had like one choice at 11th grade, which was the online computer science course. So we've been able to expand this. One of the things, and I'll talk about this in a sec, we're really hoping to continue to open up our curriculum. We're continuing to have talks with schools like UVA, JMU, Radford, other colleges, the community colleges that serve our area, to be able to offer more courses for our students. So that's something for parents to be aware of. The other thing is we also can offer individualized courses. If your child has a particular interest that you think fits in with our mission, which is now a pretty broad mission to serve our high ability students, talk to us. We've had students who have maxed out on their math, for example, at their high school, and we have been able to provide college level math classes to be able to be brought in online just as an individual student. So we've got some opportunities like that as well. Finally, for the 12th grade, we don't have quite so much in the way of dates. The 12th graders, and I think most everybody's aware, 12th graders in our program do an independent study. It's an internship, research, and community service project. And it's highly individualized. They have a class period. They have an advisor at their school, but we don't take them out for a lot of field trips. They're basically running a lot of their stuff. We did have a kickoff field trip the other day where we kind of got them into the project, got their heads into it for the year. But a couple of things that parents, it's good for parents to be aware of about this. First of all, we're trying to teach students about really doing in-depth quality work that has some significance in terms of their own learning or what they accomplish with that work. And also a learning stretch beyond where kind of outside of what their comfort zone has been with learning. This is another piece that our graduates tell us consistently really helps them prepare not only for college. We've got a number of students who went into their fields of employment after and went in their careers based on what they had done in these projects. So that's going to be that's something that is a big and important piece for us. This is another one. Our students present the results locally at their own school. They present individually, kind of in a TED Talk format, as I mentioned, where they stand up and they're talking with evaluators and audiences. We try to bring the younger students in to see these. And then we also have something called the Senior Expo, which is where all of the students come together with the results of their project. It looks like a science fair. They've all got trifold boards and things. They're all dressed up. It's awesome if you as a parent have a chance to make it. And we've had a lot of parents that have done this that want to see what this looks like before their child hits their senior year. So you're always welcome. These things will be advertised on our website and sent out as much as possible. So a couple other things parents need to know. We are Blue Ridge pays for students. We require students in 9th and 10th grade to take the PSATs. Students want to take it in the 11th grade. We can support that as well. So we will do that. We're trying to get our students prepared for, obviously for SAT testing. Our students do very well with SAT testing, I think partially because they've had that experience. This is something that's relatively new to the program. We use something called the College Work Readiness Assessment, called the CWRA. And we're testing students at the 9th grade level as they come into the program and at the 12th grade level. Part of it is so we can make curricular adjustments to see how can we help students improve. This assessment is, I'm not a big like test them till they drop kind of person. This is the best test I've ever seen in a high school setting. And it's what's called a performance assessment. Students are given a task. They're given information related to that task. They may be a public health official. They're given, and their task is to recommend policies for their locality that will help people have longer lifespans. And so they're given information about surrounding communities and things that might influence lifespan. And then they have to make a recommendation out of that. And there's a tremendous amount you can tell about a student's ability to use data, how they organize information, how they think about it, and how they structure their responses. So we've just been doing this for the last couple of years. So our 9th graders and 12th graders have been taking it. So we haven't really gotten a place where we've seen the 9th grade all the way to the 12th grade. But we are looking at the data for overall incoming students and our senior students to start. We've already been able to use some of that in our curricular decisions. So that's something you may hear about. We'll send letters home as that gets close. That will take place somewhere in mid to late October for seniors and for 9th graders. I mentioned we provide extra courses. We also, if you know an opportunity, a summertime opportunity that you think fits in with our mission, that your student is eligible, we've sent students to forensics camps, Johns Hopkins experiences, leadership programs. End of the year, if we have money left over in our budget, we usually do, we are happy to help support our students in their individual interests. So that's something where parents and students are always advised to contact me about that, because we can work with you and support those things. One thing that this is, I think, good for parents to know. We get a lot of questions about Blue Ridge in college. When a Blue Ridge student applies for college, every time you apply for college, your school provides a school profile. It tells what the school does, how students generally perform there, what kind of courses you have available. When a Blue Ridge student applies, they get their local school profile and they get our school profile, which tells all of that information about our college placements for last year, about average SAT scores for the program, about the courses and the requirements that we have. So when a college gets that application, they see this student not in one, but 2 schools. So we think, and I've shared some information in some of the other meetings about our college placements. They're strong. Our students generally have very good choices of schools. We had last year full ride scholarships to Harvard, Yale, Duke, U.S. Naval Academy. We had tons of students in lots of different Virginia schools. So, I mean, VCU, CNU, UVA, JMU, Virginia Tech. So this is a part of that piece. When parents are asking about Blue Ridge in college. So a couple of quick things in terms of just tips. So I know we've been kind of talking at you for a long time, but some things to keep in mind as you're going into this, because I'll tell you, this is a different experience, particularly parents of 9th grade. If this is your first child to go through high school and your first child to be in Blue Ridge, you're going to find there's going to be some times they're going to get stood up. And by that, I mean, they're going to be hit with something they just have not anticipated in terms of either a workload or in terms of a depth of a problem they're trying to solve in their studies. We're here to support you on that, and we want to support everybody. But one of the things that we see is that, and I've just finished doing a lot of study on about performance and success. One of the things is that perfect practice makes perfect. And by that, I mean, if you're doing the right things in terms of the way that you're approaching your schoolwork and studies, it's going to help a lot when you encounter those situations. So first of all, the best thing the parent and student can do is talk about their school goals. There's 2 kinds of goals, and the first is called a performance goal. Performance goal is I want to get an A, I want to get a 600 on my world history SOL. That's a performance goal. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the research, and there's a woman named Carol Dweck out of Stanford who's done a ton of research on this, shows that learning goals have a much higher impact on students' achievement and learning. So a learning goal is, how are you going to use that knowledge in the future? I'd like to take my knowledge of history and plan a trip to Europe. I want to take my knowledge of history and be able to apply to current situations and understand why Russia and the United States have some kind of enmity between them. I want to take that. I want to make sense out of that information. I don't want to just achieve a letter grade or a goal or a numerical goal with that. So for parents, I think this is an important thing to talk about with your students. You're getting hit with SOLs and AP and all this other kind of stuff at this level. It's important to talk about, what do you want to do with all this knowledge? Filling your head up with a bunch of stuff. What are you going to do with it? And I think that's a great question, particularly when you're thinking about heading off to college. Some academic study tips, and this is, I mentioned perfect practice makes perfect. Getting into the right habits it's not easy, particularly if you're not there right now. But you can see there's a lot of research and information out there. A lot of students are multitasking. They've got the phone on, they got the computer, they got the chat window up, they got the TV on. That is not working for them in terms of how to actually study and prepare. So a couple of things, and I just heard a new piece of research on this. Using timers is really helping. Short increments, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. There's something called the Pomodoro technique. You set a timer. The timer is the one that's telling you when and how much to work. During that time, phone is down, the chat windows are down, you're concentrating on your stuff. 20 minutes. Then you get 20 minutes of phone time or chat time. Then you come back to your study and do it again. That's going to help. Doing a small amount every night is incredibly more successful in achievement than waiting till the last minute and trying to cram. So a small amount particularly means keeping up with the readings, and when you're reading, interacting with reading, taking a note, taking questions. We have a lot of students say, "I read it." It's actually not have a lot of students, but we do have students. When I talk to students about study skills, I'll have students say that. Well, I read it, but then you have to interact with it. There should be something produced out of every time you have a section of reading. And for me, I always like to assign students just what are 5 of the most important things you saw in here, or what are some test questions that you anticipate, which is one of the best strategies ever, because then you're kind of getting on the other side of what's important about this. What am I going to be asked? And then using a calendar or planner to manage dates is huge. That's a habit that students really need to be in, particularly before they hit college. And again, so for parents, help set learning goals. I've had 2 or 3 conversations in the last couple of days that went like something like this. Well, he told me he was doing all his homework. Word to Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. You have access to Power School and art. You can, for us, you've got a lot of access through the technology that we have. You can check up on this. We've got, most of our students are getting their assignments. There's something called Google Classroom. Go into their account, take a look. And the thing's hanging fire.
One thing I just want to add to that, there is a new thing with Google Classroom. If you just want to get a weekly update of how your student is doing, you can contact your student teacher and they can add you in as to what's called a Google Classroom Guardian, and you will get a weekly summary of the assignments your student has completed, what they still have outstanding, kind of where they are. So that's something you feel like would help.
And they would need to contact the teacher for that.
The teacher,
right? Yeah. So sorry, students, but we're watching. Yeah, sorry. And I mentioned, teaching self-advocacy and supporting that self-advocacy is big. So a couple of last things, preparing for college. It's really good to have some thoughts about what college is going to be for. I've seen this consistently. I've been doing this for many years, and I've also in regular high school setting as well. I've seen literally thousands of kids head off college, and I've seen hundreds of them head back before they completed. And the difference has often been, I didn't know what I was doing when I got there. I didn't know why I was there. So having those conversations, that doesn't mean, I started off as a physics major and ended up as a history major. But having a plan when you get there is definitely a helpful piece. Persistence and self-control. There's a lot of studies and a lot of information about this. But, again, the ability to put the phone down, and that's a hard one because it's one of the most highly addictive inventions in all of history. And I'm talking about brain science. There's a reason that people drive around looking at their phones and doing stuff they know they shouldn't. It's highly addictive. The ability to resist that addiction is a huge piece for student success. And there are studies that show that the kids who were able to self-control at the age of 5 or 6 are much more successful throughout the rest of their life. These are skills that students can learn through practice. Skills and habits, the other things that we talked about, experiences. A lot of things, I talk to a lot of parents and students who say, oh, we do such and such, it looks great on a college application. Everything that you think looks good on a college application looks good because the college is thinking about what's behind that. Your participation in band, your participation in service or a mission trip, anything like that is important because they understand that those experiences will make you more successful at that level. So we encourage Most of our students are pretty involved. 60–70% are involved in sports, band, drama, something like that, and we love it and that's one reason we try to support it through through being flexible on some of the things that we do as much as possible, because we think that's going to help prepare our students be ready for that environment. Last thing for parents and students is to think about choices of college, because there is a lot of research again about it doesn't have to be the best college. It doesn't have to be, if you've got your sights set on Duke or you've got your sights set on Harvard or Yale, that's great, and we're never going to discourage that. We've seen some real successful transitions into those places. But knowing what you want to accomplish and knowing what you want to do with it, it's not where you go, it's what you do with it when you're there. And there's a lot of things that show that for some students, a smaller college environment, or I'll give you one example. We've seen a tremendous amount of success from our graduates at Christopher Newport University. Small school, a lot of our students are, we're all one high school counties. Some of our schools are 500–600 students. Going off to a school where there's 500 or 600 people in a class is a real shock to the system for some people. So knowing that and choosing colleges accordingly is huge. At the end of this PowerPoint, we're going to post this PowerPoint, as I mentioned, online. At the end of this, there's a ton of resources, and the bulk of them are linked. So there are things that really feed into the advice that I just gave. So if you're interested in pursuing this and learning more and reading more in depth, go to this PowerPoint when we link it up on the website. It'll be a couple of days. It'll be after tomorrow night's presentation that we're going to be doing. But make sure go in and check that out, and you're welcome to explore. Or if you have questions for me, follow-up questions for me, you're welcome to contact me. So last little bit, we're trying to get you out in an hour here. One thing I mentioned, we're looking at curriculum revision. We're looking at continuing to add courses, particularly for upper level students to have some choices. We're working hard on that, both in school and online courses. One thing that's going to be new this year is we're going to produce our own program of studies. A lot of times our courses are included in the local program of studies, and it's not really clear about our course, what the requirements are, what the availabilities, what the time frames. We're going to try to have all of that lined up and out in time for parents and students to make scheduling decisions for the following year. One thing that we're going to be doing is working with legislators. We do this every year to advocate for governor schools at the state level and all, and we're looking for some parents to potentially volunteer with that. I'll kind of hit you with that at the end of this. We also have an evaluation at the state level this year, and the evaluation is where the state comes in and looks at our program and says, how are you doing? And this is one where they like to talk with parents and like to work with parents. They want to know your perspective. So this is another area where if you're interested in being a part of that, we'd love to have you participate in that. Overall, and one of the goals for us as a program is to increase parent involvement. It's tough. You guys came from all over the place, and I know it's not easy to get here. It's not easy to spend your weeknights. One of the things we want to do, Ms. Bonovich's position is new this year as a full-time position. We want to leverage the resources we have to make more opportunities for parents to participate in our way, and we're online, using online tools or collaborate, participate, from where you are and not have to get in the car and drive somewhere every time we have something going on. So we're going to be working on that. So stay tuned for some of that this year. So at this point, I'll take any questions that you think would be helpful for everybody in the group to hear. I'll be around for a few minutes as well if anybody wants to ask me individual questions. If you think you would be interested in volunteering for the Friends of Virginia Governor School, which is the advocacy organization I mentioned, statewide advocacy organization. If you think that, or helping us out with the evaluation process in the spring by being available for some interviews with the evaluation team. If you have a particular suggestion that you think we need to hear here in the Governor School, we have a form set up on these computers over here. You're welcome to head over there, put your information in. You can put in a suggestion without volunteering, or you can volunteer without putting in a suggestion. Nothing's required on this particular form. This will be posted as well afterwards. So if you choose to do this from the comfort of your own home, you can do that. But if you want to do it while something's fresh in your mind, we have computers over here. So you'll be welcome to do that. So at this point, I'll just open general questions that you think, again, would be helpful for everybody to hear.
That's actually already linked on our website.
Okay, that's yep.
Right now, or
That's true. Yeah, if you look, yeah, don't do that in the car. But if you go, back we just put a live link down here on this notice for the back to school meetings. It says collect input from parents is highlighted. And if you hit that, that also takes you to that form. Any questions at this point? I think we covered almost everything.
So for the PSATs, maybe other registering for the Blue Ridge Governor. I think I had understood something differently from her guidance.
You can do it locally at the guidance counselor. If there's a question, have the guidance counselor contact me. We reimburse the guidance offices. That's how we pay for this. So we don't pay directly to PSAT.
And do I register online, or how do I register?
I'm not quite sure how that, because really all we do is write the check. So,
Okay.
so I'm not sure, because the mechanics have changed. I don't want to give you any wrong information about that registration. Today, to go register through their local guidance office. And so that's all I really tremendously know about that process.
Okay.
Other questions? We must have just slammed you with information. But again, yes.
On the field trip, they come from the school, or do we have to get them here? Like if they have a meeting where all the counties are coming here,
They go to school, get on Big Yellow, they come here. So we usually get them in here about 9:30 because we're coming from Nelson and all over the place. And then we usually have them out of here by about 1:30 or 2 for wherever we have. We go here, we go to Charlottesville, sometimes UVA. Generally it's kind of centrally located areas. So we make sure that they're back, but it's all school transportation. Yeah, and then DC trips, we pay for charter buses for this. Yes. They set it up themselves with a lot of guidance, but that's a part of the process. We guide them in how to make first contact with potential. They find a topic they're interested in. We help them research what's available to spend time with somebody who's an expert in that topic, and then they make that contact and they make arrangements, and then they have an advisor at the school that helps them. No, we actually have advisors. It's like a teacher, but they're not doing day-to-day lessons and lectures and things. I mean, they're specifically as somebody that usually is hired directly by Blue Ridge as a part of their teaching load to work with those students in the school setting.
They have a specific class time.
Right.
Where they will go to this classroom and it will be their advisor with the Blue Ridge seniors that guides them through the process.
Right. So each student is working, because these things are really different. One might be calling mentors during that class time. One might be working on their journals. One might be working on their website. One might be setting up their community service. So, but the advisors help them
You can go on our website and actually see everything that's required of that project. We have, the entire curriculum for senior project is up there.
Yeah, and it's also we've shown you under academics. If you're interested in that, the senior resource site is basically the handbook for the seniors. It tells them everything that's required, and you can also see in that same area, you can see if you look at student work, you can see what our seniors have done in past years, and like over the past 3 years. Well, we offer students the possibility of doing the internship portion of that project during the summer prior. But we generally don't go much before the summer. We don't go before the summer unless there's a really strange situation, because we want them to they have to meet certain standards and guidance and attend to certain things through that experience. So a lot of our students do it in the summer, and that way it really lessens up what their obligations are during that time they're writing college applications and doing all the other stuff that seniors do. So those students who do it in the summertime love it, and we actually encourage it. So we work with them at the end of their junior year to tell them how to set that up and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Great question. Well, thank you all for coming out. Again, I'll be here for a few minutes, and if you're interested in inputting anything on these forms, we've got this. Hope you have a great first semester and a great school year.